The Russian Prime Minister says Washington's new sanctions against Moscow are virtually the same as a full-scale trade war. Dmitry Medvedev also described as utterly powerless the Trump administration. He stressed that the sanctions will dash any hope for better ties between the Kremlin and the White House. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Ministry in a statement said Washington's policy to take anti-Moscow measures was dangerous and short-sighted. Earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump signed into law the new sanctions which target Russia, Iran, and North Korea. On Friday, the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate approved the legislation against Moscow for its alleged role in the U.S. 2016 presidential election and over Crimea's reunification with Russia. To discuss that further, I'm joined by Jason Unruhe, who is a political commentator and analyst, and he's joining us live now via Skype from Ontario. Jason, what do you make of Medvedev's comments? Do you agree that this is a trade war?
Oh, yes, this does have very much the flavor of trade war. When we look at what has been targeted by U.S. sanctions, we see that this is heavily biased towards harming the energy sector, which is a great deal of what the Russian government uses as income. It's a huge portion of the economy. Take on top of this that it targets many high-profile people within the actual government itself, and you've got a definite recipe for another trade war. Russia will have to respond to this kind of harmful action in some way. It's the kind of thing that they have to do something about, and they cannot merely just shrug it off. The United States claims that this is about allegations of Russian meddling in the 2016 election, but this is an allegation that we, the public, have not yet been shown any evidence of whatsoever. I personally find the timing of this to be very suspicious, given that new reports have come out from the U.S. that it appears that they're going to be, or they have all but admitted defeat in their imperialist assault upon Syria. It seems that they've cut off funding to the rebel groups that they were controlling. This almost seems like a new measure that's being put by the United States now that it's lost on one particular front. There is still, of course, the situation going on in Ukraine, which is often said to be another portion of these sanctions. These are extensions of previous sanctions that have been placed before. But this definitely, it does feel like an act by the United States that's possibly trying to compensate for the loss in the Syrian theater in particular.
So then, Jason, where does this all head from here? Because obviously Trump had said originally that he wanted better relations with Russia, but that seems to be out the door, doesn't it?
Oh, it certainly does. Trump's administration seems very self-contradicting on many times. Often Trump wants to do something different than what Congress wants to do, or something that the rest of the government wants to do. There's definitely going to be some kind of backlash from this. You can't carry out something like this against the Russian government without expecting some kind of retaliation in some way, shape, or form. If this is going to hurt Russia as much as the U.S. feels it's going to, then Russia certainly has to do something to make up for any losses of revenue that might occur as a result, and not to mention that Russia would certainly have to carry out some kind of retaliation in order to at least save face. It's going to be a question is which side is going to go further with their actions. But this definitely does have the flavor of something that could escalate into something much larger.
All right, Jason, we'll leave there at that. But of course, as always, we appreciate you taking your time out to speak to us.